Danse kita tamskat na wow. Fawn Wood isiga so yan. Hello everybody, my name is Fawn Wood and you're listening to the Indigenous Setlist.
Remember me, when the sun comes up in the morning sky, there I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Hi, oh, no tawinan, demaken no wenan, no tawinan, hey oh way oh way oh way oh hey oh.
That's probably something people don't know that I listen to a lot of. When you do it authentically, I think that's what people connect with. Danse, kita tamskat na wow. Fawn Wood isiga so yan. Hello everybody, my name is Fawn Wood. I am a singing, recording, and performing artist. I am Plains Cree and Salish, and I come from the community of Saddle Lake Cree Nation in Treaty 6 territory of Alberta, Canada. Music for me, I was really lucky. It's always been a part of my life. I've always had I had really early exposure specifically to all kinds of traditional music, social music, our gatherings, powwow, round dance, but also I had that connection with the ceremonial music as well, and we were brought up in a really traditional family. I started singing. My parents always say I started singing from a really young age. Actually, my mom used to sing at a big powwow drum while she was pregnant with me. And my parents actually met at a powwow too, so it runs really deep in my family. For the first time, I think my parents have ever heard me sing, and when I really kind of started expressing my love for music happened back when we used to travel. We traveled a lot for celebrations and gatherings like that, and my parents used to tell me, out of nowhere, we used to just hear you singing in the back seat to our cassette tapes, our powwow cassette tapes, and that's when we knew you were a singer. So it's always been a part of my life, and I had a really strong connection with it for as long as I can remember.
Hopelessly devoted to you. Can't you see that all I do, I've done it all for you. I'll remain.
The cool thing about growing up in my family, even though my parents were both traditional singers and they practiced and they still do sing today, they never wanted to sway us to be singers. I think like I do with my own kids, it would be awesome if they had that connection and that interest in it. But my parents as well, I think they let us find our own way to that music and kind of create our own relationship and connection with music. But being around it so much and being and having an appreciation for it, that's what really made me fall in love with traditional music specifically. My grandma, actually, she just turned 80 years old, and she is a Salish woman from British Columbia, Canada, and she is the drum keeper for the oldest powwow drum group in all of British Columbia and all of BC and all of the West Coast. And I grew up seeing, that matriarchal energy around this drum. I grew up seeing women singing. And I thought that was so cool, and I thought that was so normal, so normal to see women singing on drums. as well. He was one of the founding members of the powwow group Northern Cree. Having that experience as a young kid and just being around it a lot, I think really sparked my appreciation for it. And I always feel real thankful now too that this is something that I get to do, and this is a way of life I get to walk with music, because there's so much beauty in it. You know, there's so much beauty in that expression of our singing like that, and just to be able to see, you know, it being passed down through generations, even through myself and my siblings. That's something I'm really honored to be a part of. I grew up, and my main place where we expressed our love for singing was always at home. Everybody I went to school with, like elementary school, junior high, high school, nobody even knew I could sing until I was 18 and out of high school, and I had this chance to travel to a powwow at the University of Washington in Seattle, and at that time, this was the first time that these hand drum contests were becoming a thing, and specifically round dance music. And I remember going down there, and I was going down there just to go powwow, just to go visit friends and relatives and travel a little bit. I went down there, and these events are 3 days. By the third day, I had no money. I was far away from home. And one of my friends approached me at the powwow. He's like, "Hey, you should go in the hand drum contest." He said, "There's never been a female that ever made it past the preliminary round, never passed the first round of this contest." I was like, "John, you know what? I think I just want to watch it." I said, I was like, I was going to go watch it anyways. He's like, "Okay." And that's all he said. And I remember they had these preliminary rounds where everybody was singing their songs in a big staircase at a stadium. And I was there, I was watching, and they announced my name. Here, my friend signed me up without asking me. And I was like, oh, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? I remember feeling like the biggest adrenaline rush, and I was literally shaking.
Here we go, Fawn Wood.
What happened though, I sang my song, and that was an accomplishment in itself. But I ended up making the finals to that contest, and I ended up winning it. And I thought, holy man, this is so cool. This is something I could do. And that's kind of where everything started for me was my friend kind of pushing me into to sing publicly, because I used to only share my singing at home amongst my family and my relatives. And as the years went on, and I started, becoming an artist professionally, recording music, a lot of the people I went to school with in high school didn't even know I could sing till they heard my album come out, which was pretty cool. And, like, oh, you could sing, it was one of those moments. But I knew that this was something I wanted to do when I started traveling and seeing the impact that music had on people. That's when I knew that this was something that I wanted to do. The power that music has, and the message the many messages that we can help people with through music. And that was the beautiful thing that made me realize that this is what I wanted to do. I felt really empowered at that moment. Growing up, I was kind of the quiet kid in class. I was really shy, introverted. And I really found my voice and my self-esteem through that. You feel empowered through culture. And music is a big part of our Indigenous culture. It doesn't matter what tribe you're from. Music plays a huge role in that. There's so many beautiful different traditional styles out there, and that's something I really appreciate about our music. I think when I started composing music myself, a lot of our round dance music, because round dance comes from my tribe up here, the Plains Cree people. When I started composing this style of music, I remember all the round dance music that I grew up listening to came from a male's perspective, a male's point of view. And I wanted to tell stories coming from a female's point of view. And I remember being told, singing through English or singing certain styles of songs like this, we always keep our young ones in mind, like our youth. And that's who we want to inspire with this music. And that's who I thought of when I was singing a lot of these songs that I composed. And you want people to connect with it in a certain way. And the cool thing about like our traditional music, specifically round dance music, is it's structured differently. It's structured differently than contemporary music that you hear out there. Me, when it comes to lyrics and stuff like that, we're so inspired by different things. And I think as a traditional artist, we can't just sit there and say, okay, I'm going to start writing songs at this time on these days, and I'm going to write this kind of song. It doesn't work like that. There's a teaching that goes behind that where we say, the music that we come up with specifically in this way doesn't belong to us. It's gifted to us from, our a higher power, the spirit world even. And that's why they say the intention that you make when you come with these songs, that's what people are going to feel. And when it comes to lyrics in my song too, I'm always inspired by different things. Growing up, we listened to all kinds of music. My dad was a radio DJ in my home community here. So, we listened to him every morning, and they played all kinds of music. Like the country was a big thing, pop music, hip hop, everything. Like we listened to all kinds of music. And I used to always think, man, it would be cool to hear songs like, that spoke of stories like this, but in traditional music. So that's kind of where I pulled a lot of inspiration from. A big one for me, was like classic country, like Patsy Cline. I love Patsy Cline. My mom used to clean up the house and blast Patsy Cline. And I thought, I loved how she told, these real hurting stories. And there's a lot of that in Indian country too, like the love stories and stories of heartache and stuff like that. And that's kind of where I pulled a lot of inspiration from.
My name is Fawn Wood, and I come to you from the Satellite Cree Nation. The song I'm going to share with you was composed by my father, Mr. Earl Wood, and translated from our Plains Cree language. It talks about the powwow dance and how as we come dancing in, we want to give thanks to the Creator again. I hope you enjoy.
I listen to a lot of rock or even metal too. Like I said, like my playlist that I listen to on shuffle daily, it goes from everything from country, metal. I listen to a lot of pop music. I listen to old classics. I listen to everything. But you know what? I always had a huge appreciation for like these bands like Journey or Queen or, Def Leppard. Like I had some babysitters when I was younger that, they played like they were metalheads, these guys. And I used to think, man, hearing lead singers from these bands, they sing a lot like, like powwow singers. And I thought that was so cool, the power in their voice and the notes that they can hold. When you listen to like a drum group or you're at a round dance and you hear somebody full blast singing round dance music, you could hear a similarity in the range that they have. And that's probably something people don't know that I listen to a lot of. There's been a few, I've had a few moments in my career where I got to collaborate with with more pop style artists. And I think just kind of trying to infuse and adapt the vocal stuff that I do to complement their music. That's the closest thing I've had to my experience with anything else like that, which is really cool. And it really makes you look at the style of music I do differently, because we're so used to only sharing this kind of music in a traditional setting or in a traditional way like that. But when, you hear Indigenous artists like The Hallucination or Boogie the Beat or my sister Tia Wood, and the way that they're able to do more mainstream music with like Indigenous flair, that's something really cool. And that's something really awesome to witness in our day and age. Because I remember when I was younger, when A Tribe Called Red came out, everybody was like, holy man, do you see that? You hear that? And it was so cool to hear. But we have a huge surge in that happening in the music scene and with Indigenous artists. And it's becoming, they're breaking down these barriers from just being listened to by our community to outside listeners. And that's really cool to see it being appreciated and being honored like that. DJ Shub, I did a track with him and it was called Redfoot. That was the first time that he actually shot a music video for it. And I think you can find it on YouTube, but we did something. And I remember getting up at 5 a.m. and he was like, do you think you can perform this song? And I was like, I was like, what? I was like, because the way he created that song was we sent him a vocal track of me just singing a random traditional song. And, he cut it up, chopped it up, and he used whatever samples he did in there. And he got me to perform. I was like, I have to listen to it again because I don't sing it like that. But we did it. And, that was probably the first time I ever did something like that. And it was so cool though, like just to be able to hear and perform that part the way we did was awesome. The songs I made for my kids, I was like, I felt really vulnerable sharing that. But also the song that I made for my husband, Dallas. And it's actually called For Dallas.
When I think I'm sad and lonely, and I begin to worry, and I know you're out there thinking of me somewhere.
That one was one that really meant a lot to me too. Just being, you feel vulnerable when something means so much to you, and you put that in something like art or music or something like that, and it comes from a really personal place. I think that is one that, and you want to share it, but there's a way you express it where it's special. It comes from, like I said, a really super special place. But that's a song that I think was one of my most meaningful songs. I have one, Mommy's Little Guy.
Do you know I love you so, and Mommy will never let you go. To the stars and the sky, you'll always be Mommy's little guy. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh.
That's special too. I made these songs for my sons. And my oldest son that I made that one for, there's a lullaby for Ambrose. That's for my second born. But Mommy's Yeah. Mommy's little guy, my son now, I made that song for him. He's 15 now, and he's like, he just towers over me. But when I made that for him, he wasn't even walking yet. I remember feeling this overwhelming feeling of love as a mother, as a love I never felt before. And I got really emotional, and I remember humming this song, and my husband heard me. He's like, "Oh, did you just make that?" I was like, "Yeah, I think it's for our son." And these words came to me, and that's the beautiful thing about that song specifically is I still get messages throughout these 15 years of people saying, "Oh, my baby grew up listening to you, or my little sister, or my nephew and niece," and people switch up the words to fit their baby. And just knowing that there's been a bunch of native babies out there who've heard my voice while they go to sleep, or to calm them down, I was like, "Oh, that's motivation to keep doing what I do." I always say that little ones are, that's like one of the biggest compliments, when little ones enjoy the music and they connect with it like that.
Little one, close your eyes. Mommy will stay here by your side because I love you.
In this genre, a lot of them say the same things. It kind of just, sometimes you'll be driving and a melody will just hit you, or you're outside, or playing with your kids, or crafting, or something. You could even be sitting in a communal setting with your people and just be inspired by it. And for myself, when it comes to creating songs, especially these ones, it starts off with almost like it almost feels like a prayer. And I don't know if that sounds, phony or anything, but it does, because I knew after I made that first song for my son, and after it kind of came to me the way it did, that when I had my second born, I have three children, but when I had my second born, I knew I wanted something special for him too. And when his song came, it's called a lullaby for Ambrose, or Ambrose's lullaby. And I remember my son, he was really small, and he wasn't even a year old yet, but he got really ill. And I remember when we put him to sleep, he was in this little contraption that we call like an Indian swing, or a Nahio swing. And that's how we used to put him to bed. And he was really ill at that time. So I remember wanting to comfort him. And I started, and we used to sing just random songs to him, just anything. He used to listen to like George Jones, or, or he'd listen to like brown dance music, or NAC music to fall asleep. And I remember it was almost like the same thing happened. This overwhelming feeling, I started humming this song to him to put him to sleep, and that's how it came. And I think that if you were to ask any other traditional Native artists what their process is like that, I know the majority of people that I talk to that sing in the same way as I do, they say the same thing. The Juno Awards are like our big night up here in Canada. And for the longest time, I remember seeing and hearing of traditional artists that I knew being nominated, and often we only had the one category. So they would lump us all together too with you have hip hop artists up here, you have rock artists, country artists, powwow groups, and everybody would be lumped into the same category. But the year that I won, in 2022, was the first time that they separated that. Our traditional Indigenous artists are a group, and contemporary artists are a group, which was a really big thing. And I thought that was amazing to be a part of that inaugural win. And the cool thing about that was I knew everybody in both categories, and we're all celebrating together, and that was cool. To hear our presence being shared on different platforms and amplified like that, and just to hold space for Indigenous music and artists in all aspects, is something really powerful to be a part of. And I'm happy to say that, even if it was the that one win that I had, that just to be a part of this big movement where you're hearing Indigenous music or Indigenous artists on main stages now, on television, on movies, on, you're hearing about them. That I think means more to me than anything. When you do music in the most authentic way, whether you're sharing traditional Indigenous music or you're expressing yourself, when you do it authentically, I think that's what people connect with. As an artist, I have this creative ability to create music and to keep coming out with music. And I felt like that I have 8 years worth of material to get out there. And I'm actually back in the studio now. I did my first session this past week, and I go back to try finish a whole couple albums here. And I'm excited because it's been a few years since I've released any new music. And just to have people still connect to my music after so many years has been really cool. But I'm excited to have more songs and a few more albums out there really soon, because I feel like it's long overdue, and you'll hear a different kind of style of storytelling through this. That's the cool thing about listening to any artist. When you listen to their music progressively over the years, and as they release albums and music, you hear the evolution of their sound and the way that they express their music and express themselves. And that's what I'm looking forward to. So in 2026, I'll have a new album up. Being asked and being signed to Thunder House was a huge step for me, because I've seen the work that they've done with other Indigenous voice, not even just artists, but other Indigenous creators, and a lot of talented people that they manage, including my sister. I thought, oh, you know what? I think I love the message that they have behind their company and what they do for people and with people. And that was a big step for me, because after being self-managed for all those years, and it's not too typical that you see traditional vocalists or traditional artists, have access to things like that, or take that road where, you're being managed and booked by somebody. But just being able to share my story and also amplify the work that I do and have them represent me is something that I hope opens doors for more traditional artists to follow. And I think that's my main motive in that whole cool step that I've taken.